I had some questions, more or less, that you can either answer or you don't have to. It's come to my attention, obviously, that there have been several, or at least there are going to be several different security companies coming over to make bids on security in the building.
Right.
First, I wanted to know if that is in fact true, because I wanted to ask you about this.
Yes, we actually have, one security company declined to even fool with it. We had two other ones that have come out and walked through the building in the hopes that they will. They've actually both kind of thrown a ballpark figure out there, but we, yeah.
And is that ballpark figure more than the roughly $50,000?
Yeah, it will be in the end.
And is that something that the commission is considering doing in lieu of keeping on the current security that we have?
What security? We won't have security as of March the 1st.
Right.
Well, and that's why I was asking, the people that are currently employed there, they like their job as bailiffs and doing what they're doing. They realize that in the event that you bring in outside personnel, they're not going to be able to maintain their position doing that.
Right.
They're going to be doing other things. So they've all come to me in a bustle, and I've said, okay, I'll reach out to them, but I haven't been able to get in front of you, and I didn't want to just email, for one, because it's public, and for two, I figured it was going to be on YouTube. Might as well be here to explain myself.
Right.
I would hope that a couple of things. First off, I think that there's maybe some creative ways to structure a deal to where we could maintain the current security and keep the Lincoln County people that are employed in the capacity in which that they gain employment. I think we probably need, based on what the coverage we currently have, 1.5 essentially salaries. And when I say that, one of the things that I had thought that you may want to entertain or may consider is the fact that we don't currently have a drug court tracker, and that's something the Drug Court Commission has been talking about. And they have money to contribute, and that is not a full-time job.
Right.
So my thought was if we could sort of co-op and utilize a person as that half of a person, and the other half of their job would be the drug court, so they'd be funded partially through the drug court and then partially through whatever budget it decides, whether it's yours or mine or whatever. But just some ideas that I thought might be more cost effective for the county, and also a little more palatable for the people that are currently employed there and really would like to maintain employment. And so basically we're looking at a full-time salary amount, which is, sorry, that's usually turned off. But it's a nice ringtone, don't you?
It's wonderful.
It's like sad trombones. Anyway, so the drug court had approached me and asked me a little bit, I shouldn't say it approached me, but asked about the security, and they need someone. I haven't talked with them in any detail at all, because I wanted to be able to talk to you first, and I wanted to be able to address, see if that was even something that you would consider. But I thought it would certainly be more cost effective if the security companies were more than roughly that $50,000 notch that we would kind of looked at in the past. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there, and again, from my perspective, I'm hopeful that we're able to maintain Lincoln County people and Lincoln County jobs as best as possible.
Well, last time I talked about the sheriff when he wasn't around, I called up flack for it, but I'm going to do it again anyway. Our understanding was, effective March 1st, those people are, they'll continue to do bailiff duty when there are judges, but when they're not doing bailiff duty, they're going to be out on the road, and that's the decision that Mike has made.
And we didn't.
Unless we were to be able to devise a nice working agreement between security, the commission, and the sheriff's
Well,
office.
let me back up and say, on January 10th, I made what I thought was a working agreement with the sheriff when I gave him $100. He still has the exact same amount of money for bailiffs that he had last year.
Okay, so then, here would be my request then. If you would entertain working with my office, and I can then employ one of those people, or two of those people.
They're not unemployed, though.
I realize that, but
Okay.
some of them aren't going to be able to, or don't feel that they'll be able to do the job that's going to be requested of them. So they are apprehensive, frankly, about some of those new job criteria, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were able to work together financially, I think it would be more cost effective, certainly. And if it also would allow us to provide something for the drug court, to me it's a win-win. Costs us less money, keeps our doors staffed, and those people are already commissioned because they have to be. Don't have to worry about that wait time. They continue to maintain their employment and are then able to work possibly through the drug court to help pick up some of that. And it's something we could talk about later if you'd like, but it's just something that I certainly would at least appreciate the opportunity to present something to you that may be more cost effective for the county and certainly would keep Lincoln County individuals employed in Lincoln County, which I think is also a goal.
Well, ultimately, there will be Lincoln County people hired to man these security positions. The whole commission thing, they have to be commissioned if they want to arrest people.
Mm-hmm. But you know how often we need to do that.
Well, there are multitudinous people in that area that can arrest people. We have the city of Troy, we have the sheriff's deputies right there. When I inquired to the sheriff how long it would take to get officers commissioned, he said 6 to 8 weeks. Well, we don't have 6 to 8 weeks. So we're comfortable with the fact that we can have an armed person who cannot arrest people. There should be someone in the building at all times who can arrest people.
And then where do they go?
Where does who go?
If they, I mean, and the number of detainees that we have that come through the door on a given day, normally we have power, our officers have the power to arrest, so they place them under arrest and they go next door.
They'll still have to arrest.
So they don't have the power to arrest in this county if they're not commissioned.
No. The bailiffs that are in the building.
But if they're not there, if the bailiffs aren't there because we're not having court, I'm saying that we have the two that I talked about the other day, that specific morning that I was here, we didn't have court in session. We wouldn't have had bailiffs in that building.
Right. In that situation, the security guards would say, hey, whatever you're doing, stop, and we would have to call somebody to come and arrest them. I mean, we have a whole stable full of deputies, etc., 75 feet across the parking lot.
But not necessarily at our disposal.
Well, if we send out a call to arrest somebody and they don't respond to it.
I'm not saying that they're not going to respond. I'm saying I don't know what the time, you know, you never know what that timeline is going to be. And I'm more saying if we have an ability to do it and do it for less money, and
I think the money is about a wash, but the whole drug court thing, when's the person going to track the drug court people?
They do that in the evening.
But they're not going to want to work all day and then drug court track in the evening.
They don't. They don't track every day, every night, or any of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure how that exactly works.
We have to have 2 people at the door.
You don't always have to have 2 people at the door.
Well, the times when there's not 2 people needed at the door, the other one is going to be walking around the exterior of the building, like in back where no security cameras. Don't put that in a minute. But there will be 2 people there. If one has to go to lunch, they're going to be on a split lunch shift. One's going to be 7:30 to 4:30. One's going to be 8 to 5.
So you would rather pay an outside security company than give the sheriff an increase to put another individual on the road and leave things as is?
Absolutely.
I think there's 2 different issues here with that. When you just said, what we've been talking about earlier, if I've heard you right, the employees that would stay there, that are working there now, would just become like the judge's employees or your employees, and that money would come through their budgets. They wouldn't be sheriff's deputies anymore anyway.
Well, they would, because they're there already part-time. they're already bailiffs part-time. And really, I mean, and I don't mean to...
I mean, I thought I
again,
understood that.
I don't mean to be, I don't care where the
I know,
money's coming from.
but the plan.
All I'm looking at is people that I've worked with, maintained relationships with, the people that have provided good
but
security for us.
right then as you said that, you weren't necessarily meaning that that employee becomes the judge's employees or anybody. They would continue to be deputies under the sheriff.
But they get paid, maybe they get paid, again, it would take some creative pencil to the paper, but maybe part of their salary is paid through the sheriff's department, part of it's paid through mine, or part of it's paid through the commission, or part of it's paid through drug court. I don't know. I'm just saying that there are several individuals that work there and have worked there that we feel comfortable with and that they like their job. And because of whatever, they're now not going to be able to do the job that they do on a daily basis, and they're going to be out serving papers or doing whatever else there is to do, one of which is darn close to retirement and doesn't really want to be out knocking on the defendant's door.
So to keep you guys safe for years in the future, it needs to get away from the system it is now. It needs to get where the judges are in charge of it, or you're in charge of it, or we're in charge of it, because it can't be built into the sheriff's budget, because it can't be. And that's been proven this particular time.
Correct.
It's been proven.
It only could be if there was an MOU. If there were an MOU in place that said this amount of money goes to the sheriff's budget and specifically earmarked for this. Either you use it or we'll pull that, and with the understanding that those officers remain under a commission status unless and until they achieve one of these violations that would obviously require the loss of a commission. There would be some sort of a memorandum of understanding, which I have with the sheriff's office based on the investigator that I've agreed to take on in my payroll. My MOU says, I'll agree to take him, you're going to agree to keep him commissioned, because what happens if he pulls his commission from me? Now I've got an investigator that can't go out and arrest somebody. Well, I don't want that. So we have an MOU that says you can only pull a commission if it falls into these guidelines and X, Y, and Z.
Okay, so then we would put an MOU saying that he can't take the money back again?
Correct. Well,
but that's two different things we're talking about.
well, you've never had one, correct?
Never had what?
An MOU.
No, but what
I'm
you
saying,
had one for was that commission of that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about taking the money again.
I'm saying that if you're going to employ a security company or you're going to employ people to do security, and in an effort to cover the commission's proverbial rear and make sure that there's security provided, an MOU would be the best way to do that, because we know and we've learned through this process that the sheriff has the ability to pull a commission or to not commission. And so the next sheriff may have a different idea, and the next prosecutor may have a different idea, the next commission may have a different idea. But something that would then continue from here on out, so that we're not back into this conundrum at another time, and so that these people aren't constantly worried about whether or not they have a job, and if they have a job, what's it going to be? And so the people in the building that I work aren't constantly worried about who's showing up to be security and what kind of security are we getting for that, and why are we going to pay this much when we could have just paid this much? Like,
who says we could have just paid that much? That's what you mean. That what's the initials again? Would that guarantee that the $49,000 that the sheriff would want, would he have to spend it on that? Is that what you're?
The MOU.
Mm-hmm. Would that guarantee that? See, that's the problem.
It would, absolutely. If you did an MOU with him, I would absolutely. I mean, he doesn't have it. Either he agrees to it or he doesn't. But frankly, I mean, I represent you, and it takes a lot of heat off of you in that argument. Look, we've offered it to the sheriff with the understanding, and I would want it for me, because I don't want there to be a time when, if my budget is cut such that I have to cut staff, I don't want it to be, well, I'm going to cut. I mean, I want it to say, this much is to be spent on security. If you want one person, 5 people, whatever it is, this is how much we're giving you for security. That's what it is. We have an understanding that you make sure that it happens and you manage that facility in that regard.
So that would just take out the gentleman's agreement type thing,
Correct.
the way it is now with the budget, and
Correct.
that would, you're saying that would tighten it up legally enough to make him do that with the money?
Correct.